If Little Simz is the best rapper in the UK, but no one says it, is she the best rapper in the UK? Let's take a trip and figure this out. A brief background as to my relationship with Little Simz music. I used to be a part of the group that used to say Little Simz is only for the people who listen to music at home. No one was really playing her. I've never heard or met a Little Simz fan sing her praises. Little Simz fans aren't real. And I even brought someone on my podcast to debate with me Little Simz credentials in the rap game, because someone could tell you, oh, she's won this award, she's done this, she's done that. But I felt as though her impact wasn't really seen within the scene. Like, for example, right, I don't listen to Darko's music as much as I listen to Tion Wayne, for example, but I can see Darko's impact on her demographic. I don't listen to Inflo as much as I listen to Tion Wayne. I don't know why I'm saying Tion Wayne, but just use him as an example. And I still see his impact on people. So I was wondering, right, how is Little Simz one of the biggest out of our country? I'm seeing NFR podcasts speak about her. I'm seeing all these people sing her praises, say that she's amazing, she's this great writer, but I just don't see it. So I decided, you know what? Whenever there's an artist who's extremely popular that I just don't see the hype for, I usually just go back and listen to all their projects. So that's what I did. I listened to all of Little Simz projects, and the one that really made me switch how I thought of her and not think she's just this overrated person who everyone's trying to gas out because it's the person of the week was No Thank You, right? And I'm going to do a No Thank You review another time. Today we're going to be doing a Lotus review, as you can see by the flower. I don't know if I was covering that, but yeah, as you can see by the flower. But yeah, No Thank You was for me the project that really made me believe in Little Simz. And why do I say No Thank You? It's not even just that project. It was Gorillaz as well. Now, it's almost a meme that whenever someone says, oh, name 5 Little Simz songs, the first song they say is Gorillaz. But Gorillaz for me was one of the first introductions. I was like, okay, this is kind of my vibe. Like, you're getting there. I like the video. I like the song. So Gorillaz hooked me in. Then I listened to the whole project. And the song that really made me realize, okay, what people say about her being introspective and her pen and her writing ability was Heart on Fire. Now, I could break this down, but I'm going to do that on another day. I'm going to spend a whole episode just breaking down No Thank You. But Heart on Fire really caught my attention and made me really appreciate Little Simz' writing. So since then, since No Thank You, she's dropped 2 projects. She's dropped Drop 7 and obviously Lotus that I'm going to be speaking about today. Now, Drop 7 has got a lot of different sounds. I would say it's a very experimental. I read the little description for it on Apple Music, and they said it's like Brazilian music, not Brazilian music, but Brazilian-inspired themes and elements in it. And you can hear it in the music, and to be honest, it's one of my favorite projects to come out last year, even though it's an EP. I don't really see much fanfare for it, but I genuinely enjoyed it. And you know when people say, oh, I don't want to hear rappers on FIFA? I wouldn't mind hearing that whole EP just scattered around the FIFA now and again. But let me know if you guys agree. Would you want to hear Drop 7 on FIFA? So she dropped Drop 7. I was like, okay, that's cool, that's cool. It didn't really make me think she's going to be this person who changes, or I didn't really think her perception would be changed through Drop 7, but I liked it. I enjoyed the project. Then she dropped, for me, people are going to say this is early, but I do believe that Lotus is going to age to be a classic. But I don't think it's going to have the impact for the casuals as other albums do. Now, you obviously hear me speak about Common Sense all the time, Psychodrama, Gangsters and Prayers, and I'm going to get to why those might be a bit more popular than Lotus in UK rap history. But I think Lotus, in terms of sitting down and analysing an album, has so much depth. And we're going to do that today. So maybe when you guys listen back to it, you might think, oh, I didn't notice that, or I didn't notice that. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into this Lotus review. So one thing I like to do before albums start is I like to have a context into the artist or whoever I'm listening to story. Now, obviously, if you're a fan of this artist, sometimes you just be following them on social media. You might see on a couple of blog pages what's been going on with them in between album cycles. And whatever's happening in the artist's life, you kind of want them to expose/address whatever's happening. I'll never forget when Scorpion dropped, right? If you remember, Story of Adidon dropped earlier in the year, the whole beef with him and Pusha T. And then Scorpion came out and everyone was like, oh, what's he going to say? How's he going to address the Sun rumors? Is it true about the Adidas deal? He wasn't hiding his kid from the world, he was hiding the world from his kid. And I don't even know if I said that right, but we're gonna just keep flowing. You guys know what I mean. He said that, and I was like, okay, that's an interesting spin, but he addressed it. It was what I want. And that's a lot of the times what I want from an album, from an artist. I want to hear you express and speak about the messy or the gossip or whatever trials and tribulations you're facing in your life. I don't want to just hear you go on Instagram Live or see you on the Shade Barrow, all that stuff. I want to hear you do it in your God-given ability and the medium that you excel in the most, which is music for a lot of people. The main theme around this album is a man called Inflo. Now, Inflo is a previous collaborator of Little Simz, and if you want a full breakdown of the whole situation, go check out HC Pod. They had like a really good breakdown, because I didn't even know who the guy was. I'm not really, in terms of looking at producer things, unless it's like a beat that I'm really in love with, I don't do it for every single project that I listen to. But yeah, they explain kind of the history behind their collaboration, what he kind of provides, the whole clear soul of it all, so definitely check that out. But it's alleged that Inflo has stolen some money from Lil Simz, and this was reported all over the Shade Bar. And this was, for me, one of the first times I'd seen Little Simz really on those type of platforms, because, to be honest, she stays out of the mix. She doesn't really tweet it if it's stupid. She just does her own thing. So I was just interested to hear what Inflo, and it wasn't like something I was like, I need to know what happened. Inflo and Little Simz did this amazing duo, but they are a great duo. And after watching that HC Pod episode, I was like, okay, a part of a lot of the albums that I like from Little Simz in terms of No Thank You, Little Inflo was a part of that. So I wanted to know what happened. He wasn't a part of Drop 7, I believe, though, but he was a part of some of her most critically acclaimed work. And when I say critically acclaimed work, that's a really important subject to tackle as well, because we're going to speak about Lauryn Hill a bit later, but the idea that you and a person collaborated on your best work and now you have to almost branch free and do something different, it's very scary. It's very scary. But there's a song that she addresses all of that. So that's the context behind the album. Let's get into the actual album review. Let's start with Thief, right? Thief, she sets pace. I'm angry. And she details every single reason why she is fuming at Inflo. She speaks about his God complex. And there was one line, right? There's one line that stuck with me. She said, "Why do you take the rule book from people that hurt you and use that as a guide?" Now, the way I just said that might have sounded a bit funny, but the way she just dropped that line, I was thinking, yeah, like, hurt people, but the idea that you've been hurt and now you're going to use that in order to manipulate me was very interesting, right? She's pretty much ranting and expressing herself at how angry she is with this man, how she feels as though she gave him his name, gave him his notoriety. Because think about it, right? Everyone in the industry wants to work with, for example, the biggest or the up-and-coming artist, because when you put that credit on your CV and say, listen, this is who I've worked with, Mobo nominated, Brit nominated, Mercury winner, all these things, your price can go up. So she starts, you know, her ego's out now. She's hurt. Like, I am that guy. And you've tried to almost jinnles me and make me think you're that guy, but no, like, you needed me in this relationship. And I think Thief is just this declaration of war where it's like, no, we're not going to start this album where I just say one bar about you and then we just keep it going. You're going to get bars throughout this album. And then you get to the second song, Flood, where she's still going at his neck saying, I'm the missing piece of the puzzle. I'm what made this work. And it's still her ego just out and she's just angry. And I'm just like, yeah, Simz, yeah, clear soul. How are you going to respond? You know, that all that toxic stuff. But she then takes a turn and goes into a song like Young, where it's more fun, it's more upbeat. It's very, I want to say very British, but there's other ways of saying that. But it's a very much more of a fun song. And it seems, now I'm not going to say she wasn't capable of doing this before, but it almost seems like a single that she wanted to do. She's very whimsical in the video. And it almost feels like maybe something like this could have happened if Inflo was in the pit. That's just me speculating, but it's a very fun song, very enjoyable, and it almost makes you kind of forget what's happened, and it's a good song. It's a good song. You should definitely check out the video. So you get Young, and then you get a song like Only. Now, I just mentioned Cleo Soul earlier, but I'm listening to Only, and this is an amazing R&B / rap collab, amazing for the summertime. I highly recommend everyone listen to that song. Beautiful vibe. And I'm listening to it, I'm thinking, imagine Cleo Soul was on this. Because those two have an amazing hit record together. Imagine those two on this song. And that's another part of this Inflo thing that she didn't necessarily say that, oh, me and Cleo Soul were done, we're never going to speak again. But obviously, Cleo Soul and Inflo, for those who don't know, they are together, that's her husband. We're not only mourning the relationship between Little Simz and Inflo, we're mourning the relationship between Cleo Soul, Little Simz, Inflo, and you almost have to grieve. You almost have to let go of a time because they haven't paid her back her money, so who knows what could happen next, right? But yeah, Only is a great song. You should definitely check it out. My favorite song of the album is Free, where she parallels fear and love in two separate verses. She starts it off with love, where she explains how the power and the amazing things that love can bring you. And she almost defines love in her image. Then there's fear, where a lot of the things she's defining in love is absent in these situations, absent where if you had love in those situations, you won't feel as much fear. Think about any time you felt anxious or scared of a situation. A lot of those times you're alone and you don't have maybe someone there to help you and to encourage you, or you don't have someone there to support you. And I'm going to have a video discussing fear because there's an amazing Kendrick Lamar song where he breaks down the different fears he's felt, and I'm going to do that as well. But that's my favorite song on the album, and it just sounds amazing as well. Of course, everything about that song is perfect to me. Now, my next favorite song is Hollow. The reason I love Hollow so much is it's completely different to Thief. Now, Thief starts off energetic, she's angry, she's gunning for him, and there's very much a lot of ego present. Whereas Hollow is this very much this, you can imagine this song in a Disney musical. I like to say it's like this beautiful, slow, spoken word within the album, right? And it almost takes you out of the album for a bit. And she's pretty well saying the exact same things on Thief, but now it almost seems as though she's kind of accepted it. She's coming to terms with it. And then when you see on the second half of this album, even though there are some summer songs, a lot of the times when she's going back to speak about the situation, there's this level of sadness and doubt and fear that comes with all of it. And we're going to speak about those songs later. And another thing I like to discuss is, you see on Thief where it's almost her breaking down the dates, where she speaks about dates in June where she's starting to realize all of these bad things that are happening. Whereas Hollow is more so, it feels as though a hindsight, her looking back and realizing what's happened and coming to terms with what's happened. So yeah, that's why I love Hollow. Hollow's a great song as well. Then we get to Lonely. Now, I think Lonely is another amazing song, and I think this one speaks about her paranoia. Now, Lonely and Lotus, the title track, are great songs for this. But Lonely, for me, right, Lonely is her almost questioning, I've said that I can't do this without Inflo, and she's proven on this project she's done it without Inflo, and it's an amazing, and I think one of her best bodies of work. Little Simz fans, let me know, do you think Lotus is her best body of work? But you listen to a song like Lonely, and it's almost her questioning, what if this isn't better than my other pieces of work? What if Inflo, there was something there that he did provide? And it's almost this doubt and these fears that are seeping into her mind. And it's a very quiet and somber track where there's like a level of sadness that she didn't cause, but she has to deal with. And I think Lonely, what it really did for me anyway, it made me think about how if you tie your strength to another person and then that person leaves, you might start having thoughts in your head that, can I do this alone? Can I do this without this person? There are certain moments where this person provided me with ideas and insights. Now that they're gone, will I be able to stir the ship and figure out how to do whatever my craft or art form is? And yeah, I really love Lonely. And obviously the title track Lotus speaks about her paranoia as well. Hi guys, Jude from the editing booth here. So I forgot the two best songs on this entire project, so I'm going to review them quickly. Now, the first song is Lion. Now, the reason I love Lion so much is because it perfectly encapsulates what makes the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill so great. It's got a cool Fuji sound, and anyone who's Nigerian, I don't know, when you hear Fuji today, it almost feels like you're being awoken, your Nigerian roots are being reinstalled back into you. And I love that song Lion so much. And that's what was amazing about the Miseducation of the Lauryn Hill. It was boom bap, it was reggae, it was soulful, it was jazz, it was all these different elements merged into one project. And you see that in this project as well, where there's punk elements, rap elements, R&B elements, musical element, all of these different types of things are in this project. So that's why I like Lion. And Blood, this is the whole reason why I'm re-recording this bit, because Blood for me is the best. Actually, for me, Blood is what We Cry Together could have been. And I got this from Professor Sky because that was his idea originally, and I'll give him credit for that. Because We Cry Together is almost, I remember having an argument and people are like, We Cry Together is not even a song. And technically they were right, even though it has a beat and people are talking. But it's more so like a spoken word or performance between, or a conversation between two people. You can see it as a movie better than it being performed as a song. But Blood is similar to that, but the story in it is a bit more clear and a bit more home hitting, right? So obviously it's known that, you know, men aren't meant to be the emotional ones, and we leave a lot of that burden to women. But in the sibling dynamic in Blood, you hear obviously Wretch play the brother figure who's famous and doesn't really have time necessarily to call his family, and he is like willing and happy to financially help his family, but his mum really needed someone to speak to, and he's left that burden with Little Simz character, who's his famous sister. Well, not famous, who's his sister. And it really just breaks down how, with all the money they have, you cannot replace loyalty and good human connection. No matter how far Wretch gets in his career in this story, he's still going to need his sister's love as a friend, and he's also going to have to be there for his mum, because no matter how much he puts on salary, it doesn't replace the fact that he's an absent child in his mum's life, pretty much. But yeah, those are the two that I wanted to mention. I was really annoyed that I wasn't able to get them recorded, but enjoy, guys. And yeah, let's get into the rest of the video. And guys, as you can see, Little Simz has inspired me to review her album, right? Because there's that much depth in it. And I'm sure in a year's time, there's going to be new things that I find out about the album. But I heard Lotus for the first time and thought, this is like actually great. And then I kept listening to it and it kept getting better. There was new songs that I liked. So at first I really liked Hollow. And then Free became my favorite song. And then Young, it started to grow on me after watching the video. That's what a quality project does. So why is it, and this is really the crux of this whole video, why is it that Little Simz can drop this amazing video that people can analyze, discuss, but it feels as though no one in the UK scene is really championing it, really discussing it, really crowning her as this amazing figure? Now, I've got a couple of reasons. I've got a couple of things why Little Simz might be the quote-unquote unclaimed superstar of the UK. First reason for me is she stays out the mix. Honestly, you can count on your hand how many times Little Simz has been on the Shade Barrel. I don't see her there. For peace of mind, that's probably the best bet, because you see what a lot of these artists go through. They'll be leaking baby mums, they'll be speaking about your personal life, all of this, all of that. He remembers when Tion Wayne was going through that thing with Lani Good, how they were just using his pictures, using his name throughout every time Lani was tweeting something, saying something. And I'm sure Tion Wayne hated that period. Like, he just wanted that whole situation to go away. And they just kept going and going and going. But at the same time, that kept Tion Wayne's name in my mind. Not to say Tion Wayne's not this big rapper, but out of sight, out of mind. And for a lot of Little Simz projects, she does her own thing. If you're a fan of hers, you're a fan of hers. But for the casual, how does Little Simz reach out to people? Another reason why I think Little Simz receives a lot of hate is because of Top Boy. Now, you're going to have to let me land when I explain this, but Top Boy was this culture phenomenon in the UK that rivaled Power, in my opinion. And what happened with Top Boy is that, for me, I'll be honest, I'll put my hands up, that was my introduction to Little Simz. I didn't know she was a rapper before then, so that's how I was introduced to her. And she played Shelly Ann in Top Boy. She played this character very well. A lot of people didn't like her character. Did I like her character? No, not really. There were moments where she was written to do annoying things, but overall, she acted well. So her character was perceived annoying, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this phenomenon, but a lot of people, when they see actors, they can't separate the actor from what they've just acted. I mean, take Tariq from Power. I don't know if you guys have seen this clip.
Bro, it's taking everything in my power not to whoop your ass right now.
What are you talking about?
Don't think I don't know who you are.
Talking about the show?
It's not a fucking show.
Bro,
You're disrespectful as fuck.
Bro, learn how to separate.
You are
real
disrespectful
life,
as fuck.
It's a show,
If
bro.
I had a belt right now, I'd whoop the shit out of you
It's
like
a
your
show,
mama
bro.
should have been
Bro,
doing.
it's a show, bro.
It's not a show, Tariq!
But people will really press celebrities and actors about the roles they played in movies and TV shows. Even one of the Power actors detailed how people actually think he's a bad person just from playing a bad person in a TV show, even though he's been in a bunch of other things, which is weird. But nevertheless, I think that might be part of the reason why some people dislike Little Simz from the jump. A third reason for why people might dislike Little Simz is because of this video.
Little Simz, that's not even a hate. What are you crazy, Little Simz? That's it. That's not even. I didn't have to hesitate.
What is wrong with you? But I've known Little Simz for such a long time, and what she is doing, what she's representing, I love her to the moon and back. Gotta go for Little Simz on this one.
Little Simz, the woman, yeah, 100%. I back women, and they're brilliant.
Now, it rubbed me the wrong way, and the reason why I wanted to speak about it so much is because it felt as though you could just see in people's faces they heard about 2 seconds of a Little Simz song and they weren't fans, but they heard a bunch of Dave songs, but because of biases or because of just wanted to answer and be a bit controversial, they wanted to say Little Simz. And I think this does a disservice to her work and the amount of talent she has. Because I think since Dave's last project, Little Simz has been better than him, but because she hasn't had a hit necessarily, and Dave's had Sprinter, of course, people would naturally say Dave. So I think that's another reason. I think a lot of people view Little Simz as the cliche, I don't want to say a man, so I'm going to say a woman. And you know there's a lot of misogyny and all that stuff. But we're not going to get into that today. I've got a future video planned where I'm going to break down all of that type of stuff. But that's another reason why I think people dislike Little Simz. I think they dislike her because they don't feel like the love for her is real or organic. Little Simz doesn't have two things. And any Little Simz fan, if you disagree with me, let me know. But I believe she does have these two things. She doesn't have a year, which we can say definitively is hers. And I'm going to name a name, and you're going to be like, no, but she's better than this guy. Clavish, in 2022, dropped about 7 singles and had the whole year. That was his year. When he dropped Grease, that was, I wouldn't say it was necessarily the song of the summer, but I remember DJ Wince did a remix, right? And he put a K-Trap beat over the Grease lyric, and it just went viral. And then that gave Clavish so much momentum to go into the next year when he dropped his debut mixtape. So I say all this to say that Clavish has momentum, and the casuals know a Clavish song. I don't think there's a Little Simz song that casuals just know. And people might disagree with me, say, no, they know Gorillaz, they know this, they know that. You would think that, right? But I'm saying casuals, I genuinely mean like a random group of people going out to a festival, club, whatever. There is a Little Simz songs that gets played that people just know the words to bar for bar. And that's the same for someone like Pot of Paper as well, as I mentioned with the Gangsta Writer story I told in my Pot of Paper video. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're less of an artist, but it also means that you're not necessarily part of the quote-unquote mainstream in the conversation space. You might be a part of the mainstream in terms of the size of your audience and the audience you've amassed and in terms of critical acclaim, but it feels as though she's amassed a great amount of critical acclaim but hasn't yet gotten that audience of casuals, but her audience is large at the same time. So she's in this weird spot where Americans know of her and they speak of her. I saw Professor Sky review her album, I saw NFR, I saw a bunch of people, Anthony Fantano, all these guys, they reviewed her album, and I'm not really seeing as many UK platforms champion and review her album and say, this is a classic, this is amazing. But when Sedge's album came out, if you see the difference, people were ready to have the conversations, whether they liked it or not, they were just ready to have any sort of conversations. And it made me realize that Little Simz, as great as she is, doesn't have the casuals. Now, I'm not one of those guys who's just gonna tell you, listen, she does have the casuals, let's end the video here. I'm gonna give a solution. But what do I think Little Simz can do to gain the casual audience that she's missing? I think she needs to flex her pen a bit more. Now, she's obviously featured on Wretch 32's album, and she does do features here and there, but I want her to really go out, and I bring up his name, Young Steph, a lot, Potter, whoever it is. I just need her to start out rapping, guys. I think that's the only way Little Simz will really start to be a bit more respected in that casual audience. Because if you actually listen to her music, you know she's an amazing writer and she performs everything really well. But for some reason, people don't respect her pen, or when you're saying the best spitters in the UK, you don't really say her name. So I think she needs to start to compete with these guys and at least let it be debatable whether she's better than these guys. And my second suggestion would be for her to also release a cypher where it's, again, posse cut. You guys, call me the posse cut bandit. But whether she releases a cypher, posse cut, whatever, and her and a bunch of rappers, and she just goes in, and I want to be able to debate and say, okay, no, I think Simz had the best verse because she did this, this, and this, and I think this guy had the best verse because he did that, that, and that. I think that's another way to keep her in certain casual circles that maybe she doesn't usually, enter. But yeah, that was some of my suggestions for Little Simz. I feel as though she makes amazing music and is someone that we should really be championing in the UK in terms of doing the right thing. Because if you say the UK is, everyone in the UK is releasing bad music and low integrity and all this other stuff, I think Little Simz is almost someone we should be championing, but we're not. So yeah, that's some of my ideas. Let me know if you agree. Do you guys think Little Simz is underrated? Do you think she's properly rated? Do you think she's overrated? Let me know all in the comments below. But it's been your boy Jay to the Izzo, and I am